doing all right. Let me just
Yeah, good day.
the usual tiring. I'm getting very tired now. We're almost at the point of the album, but yeah, hanging in there. There's just been a lot to work with, well, for like 10 years. But I mean, it's that crunch point when you know the album's coming out in a few days, and yeah,
What,
looking forward to it. But it's been a battle.
what's been keeping you busy this week, particularly? Because obviously, it's the week we're leading up to release, so the impression is, oh, you're going to be manic. But often I hear, oh no, it's just a bit of waiting, and now we're just trying to get to the day.
Um, I mean, it's always manic for me. Yeah, it's all right for the other forms. But yeah, I mean, aside from the album itself, we've also got the release show on the day, and that's
Yeah.
been a that's been quite a sort of DIY thing as well. So it's trying to get all the little bits ready for that because we've only just got like the merch and stuff like that just arriving this week. So it's like I was stressing a bit because of how close it was getting. Like it's like
Yeah.
we've got like the gig coming up and there's obviously pre-orders and things like that, and it's like am I going to ship these out this week? I'm still waiting for the some t-shirts actually. I think they're due tomorrow, but bloody hell, it's cutting it fine for me anyway. I like to have stuff well in advance.
Yeah, because
uh,
ideally you want it a couple of weeks before. You can take your time. You got to do a couple of trips to the post office.
that's it. Yeah, there's quite a bit to post. I mean, that's a good problem to have, I suppose. But yeah, it's one of those where it's like I've got to like really budget my time on what to spend, and I've been doing video stuff as well. We've actually got one more video coming out on the day. But I've been editing that, so I'm literally right up to the last minute editing it as well. So um, yeah, and
Well, Well, then thank you for giving me your time, really, because it
oh,
sounds like you got a lot on your plate. So it's much appreciated that you would take the time to sit down and talk to me. Overall, though, is the mood in Master's Call good? Is it like positive?
I think so. Yeah, it's exciting for us, especially like it's only been a day or two since we got the vinyls arrive, and getting them out for the first time. It was like, okay, it's real now. This is finally happening, you know. And we'll have a video actually for that. And we unboxed it on video, but we haven't put it up yet. So you get to see our reaction.
Hanging. Obviously,
I
we
mean,
should
my,
say
my reaction, my reaction
well,
probably would have been more excited if I just wasn't so tired. But you'll see John's reaction's a bit more full of glee. I'm like, yeah, we finally done it. And he's like, oh my god.
well, of course, we are talking about your debut full-length album, A Journey for the Damned, out this Friday, 24th of November via Fireflash Records. So what does it mean to you to see the culmination of all your hard work about to step into the world?
It's been such a long and painful journey. Frustrating might be a better word, I suppose. To actually know we're finally in the few days away. There were many points where it was like you started to doubt it, whether it was like we were that cursed, it was not going to happen, or I mean, we're going to cross the finish line a different band to what we started. So I mean, we've gone through three vocalists, I think, during the in fact one of them even began recording, and ill health took him out of it, but we kept a bit of what he did on it as backing. So it's kind of cool to have that little, I suppose it's a dark, morbid thing that's kind of sealed into the song. It's like his last vocal recording that he can't do anymore. It's like, oh, there's a bit of a grimness to that, but yeah, the actual feel. I don't think I'm going to believe it till the day comes, to be honest, because I don't know there's still a few days left. It can go wrong. uh,
Well, I do want to talk about the origins of the album, particularly of Vision. But before we can get into that, we really do need to go back in time a little bit. I think back to 2019, really, when he first came to my attention. First with the immense EP, Morbid Black Trinity, of course, Bloodstock that year as well. I never at the time expected to wait quite as long for a full-length album to appear. And there was even a point where I kind of thought, oh, you've disappeared. Quietly disappeared, and that was that. And here's the thing is, I don't want to relitigate the entire past years. It's too much has gone on. I know that and so on. But I guess I kind of want you to sum up what the past 4 years have been like overall for Master's Call. You kind of gave some insight there with the vocalist changes.
Yeah, it's most that was a big chunk of it. I mean, 2019 it was all great. Everything was going well. We just put out the first EP. We were already writing this album. So I mean, I obviously we got Bloodstock just from the submission of that, which was good. I even remember saying in the interview we've really these three songs have really gotten their mileage or something like that. I think I said, and that really like has gotten its mileage now because yeah, I can't. I was like, it's like an in joke with us with the band at this point where we're like, oh, that EP. So when someone buys an EP, we're like, still people buying the EP though, and it's like, yeah. And then we've been getting on like we've got like some festivals. We got like a festival in Germany at one point, and we're like, we still only have this 3 tracks each. Why are people booking us? Surely they don't know we have any music like to fill a set. Like, but yeah, I mean, so what? Okay, I'll be brief. The lineup changes began sort of towards, well, pretty much Bloodstock onwards. It was because that was actually the last show of that vocalist at the time. The next guy stepped up, and for whatever reason that didn't work out, personal reasons I think, but for him. But the problem is each time we go through a new vocalist, we're learning the set again. We're never really like spending the time writing. So obviously, so that didn't work out. The next vocalist we had, he was great. He was perfect band member. He was well invested in it. We got to 2020, and then we have the pandemic. So that did what that does. And by the time we got to the end of the pandemic, we had to retire. He was forced to retire. The vocalist was, and we'd even started recording because of ill health that affected his voice. So again, each time we keep relearning everything. And then we got to the point where John, who's the guitarist up to that point, was like, you know what, I'm stepping in. This we are cursed with vocalists. I'm going to do it. And then we're like, you sure, John? It's like we did try it for a bit with him still doing the guitar, but it's just live wise, it just wasn't the same. So then we ended up getting a new guitarist and then moving John over to vocals. It seemed to be easier to find a guitarist than a vocalist for us. So that's what we did. And obviously, again, you got to learn all the music again. So that stuff takes up a lot of time. And yeah, okay. And then obviously we got to the point where we had the lineup and we were recording. And then there was the person we wanted to use, Christian Colas, to mix our album, but because of the pandemic, he had a massive backlog, so we had to wait ages and ages, and we really wanted to use him. And that took, I think there was about a year between waiting us actually being recorded to him actually mixing and mastering it. And then we had the interest of Fireflash Records, and that ended up his like he was they were down for signing us, but they were like, our best window is like another 8 months away, and we're like, oh man, well, what's 8 more months at this point? I mean, so yeah, everything it's just a knock-on effect. It's been very frustrating and certainly tested our patience. But I think once we got to the point of John being on vocals and we had the guitarist and we were playing, we were like, okay, it's going to happen now, but it's going to take a while just because of all these. It's like we know Christian Cole is going to mix it. He's just got to
get
cue
to it.
Yeah, and then the labels actually made the offer, but the caveat being we've got to wait quite a while.
Yeah, so, here you stand.
Yeah, I mean this is it. we've learned a lot of stuff along the way. I mean, maybe it's better in the end that some of the problems we had happened before the album. I mean, even one time during, I mean, we've actually lost a bassist as well since it's been mixed. So during the time, we've again learning the songs again. At least it was already recorded at that point. It was just more of a pain for us to, like, okay, we've lost another member, but at least it wasn't the vocalist. So it's we're not trying to get rid of members. We're not even getting rid of members. They just seem to, like, I don't know why these things just stop working out for some people after a while. Maybe it is frustrating. It can be time consuming. It can be expensive, but I guess if your heart's in it enough, you'll persevere. And I think that's what we've ended up with. There's still, I mean, technically there's still three of us from the original band. It's just one of them is now on a different role. He still writes though, so that's one of the things that's always that comes up with John, is that now that he's the vocalist, he hasn't quit guitar. He still plays and still writes.
Yeah, I was wondering about that, because obviously it's a big, I mean, of course, he was likely to still continue to play guitar and so on, ultimately, and write and so on. But obviously moving from guitars to vocals and not doing a guitar for the band, it's a big deal. And like, how comfortable both he and you all were with that, and how long it took to kind of get really into the groove.
The very first show we played in that setup, you could tell he was nervous, because he was very, I think he felt very naked without the guitar there. You could tell before we went on, but he did a great job. It was like, it seemed natural. And I think more recently he's definitely gotten more aggressive, shall we say. He's definitely got the old school metal spirit out when we play live now. And he's definitely got more comfortable with it. So yeah, right now it feels, I mean, that was beginning of last year we did the first show with him, so we've had some time. We've had nearly 2 years to get used to it. It feels right now. At the moment, it feels like it's finally settled down after, just right now, just before the album comes out.
Well, I can back that up on a fan perspective. He looks right. He sounds right.
Yeah, again, that's the thing. When you think of like your guitarist doing the vocals, you don't really expect. Typically, you wouldn't expect a decent level. Well, I'm not saying you wouldn't expect a decent level, but it's like, it's almost surprising, isn't it? Like, because he has been vocalist in other bands before, so it's not like we're just picking anyone in the band to do somebody take over. No, it was he's obviously a confident vocalist, that's for sure. And we had fun actually just doing the recording sessions for the album, because it was like, I know these songs were kind of written with a different vocalist in mind at the time, but what can we do with it? Do a little bit of your thing to it. I mean, I suppose now that we've going forward with this setup, we will write the songs for his vocals, and there'll probably be some things in there that I mean, stuff that might be more suited to him than would have been suited to the current previous vocalists. So it will be interesting going forward. Plus, obviously, the fact now we've technically got 4 guitarists in the band, because the new bassist is also a guitarist in another band. So we got 4 guitarists in the band. Surely one of us can write a riff. So it'd be interesting to see what different like flavors and textures we get out of the next one. I mean, I'm sure it'll still be the same kind of concept, but it's going to be interesting hearing a few different takes, because predominantly me and John wrote everything so far. But it would be good to get some. But we're definitely going to be getting input from the newer members this time.
It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be exciting for you. But going back to all these challenges you talk about, the challenges you've faced you as an individual, you as a person, do you feel better for them? You talk about learning things along the way. Do you feel like because of them, you've grown a bit?
Yeah, I think it was like a necessary evil to some degree. I mean, I'm never the sort of person who will back down from a challenge anyway, even when I probably should. But it's now that we've gone through all that, we've learned things to put. We've learned ways of getting around. We've always been this. We've become this band now who always makes it work no matter what. There was even a time when we did this gig in Germany, and it was the first one in Germany, and at the time the bassist in the band and the other guitarist in the band had some passport issues and they couldn't get in. So the three that remained was well, we already knew they couldn't get in by like a week before, but that wasn't very long, much notice. So what we did, the remaining three of us, which was the drummer, me, and John picked up a bass, and we basically tried to do a what minimized sec version can we do of our set, and there was obviously like I was learning the other guitarist's leads and going, but do I need the lead there? We ended up working on a set that worked as a three-piece, and it got us through that gig with like not much time to do it in. I think a previous version of the band hadn't gone through all the patience and suffering. I don't know whether we would have probably cancelled or something like that, but I mean, we were like, nah, just do it anyway. Let's just do it. We were making jokes at the time. Let's go Venom that shit. Let's Motorhead that. Let's Midnight that. It's like, let's just do it. And it worked out pretty good, and we got a good reception. And that, in fact, is how the upcoming tour started. We got the invite from the back of that, more or less. was worth trying that three-piece idea.
Hell
But yeah, go back
yeah.
to what you were saying. It's a case of I've definitely felt like we've learned things along the way, but more importantly, we've set up a more stable foundation now. Hopefully, all the things that have slowed us down are not really shouldn't really be an issue going forward, because we've now got that foundation. In terms of band members, in terms of making sure we're in advance, make sure we book stuff well in advance if we can, because I mean I know the pandemic isn't a typical scenario, but yeah, one thing we have learned is to be early, and you'll probably still be late.
You'll make it work. Master's Call, making it work.
Making it
that's
work.
your
That's
t-shirt
it, yeah.
design. And yeah, making it work results in, of course, a journey for the damned. So your vision for this record, what did it initially look like when you first sort of set out on this path?
Well, it sort of began, as everything has so far. It began with me and John. Just, I mean, some of it began before the EP. It was the concept of it was just, originally we were going to just be like extreme black metal or something like that, because that's what I was in a death metal band at the time and he was in a black metal band at the time, so it was like, all right, let's just do this. And then I think after we wrote that, the first song we wrote was the Spire Cranes off the EP, and we were like, we had that chorus in it, and we were like, this is wrong, but I like it. this
Wrong.
It's like, this isn't black metal or death metal. This isn't allowed. Should we do it anyway? Okay. So we were like getting into the whole idea of doing choruses like that. And because of course we're well into the old school classic era metal, the Sabbath and the Priest from where we are. So, we always feel like we have to put a bit of a stamp on that, a bit of a, almost a nod. There's always, under all the black and the death, there's that little bit of old school. We try and keep it in. That was essentially the vision, but it didn't sort of it wasn't like right there from the outset. It did kind of develop over the course of the album. We just kept going, all right, let's do some more old school here. let's do a classic guitar. Let's like Blood on the Altar. Let's do a little classic guitar solo in the middle somewhere. And it's like, yeah, right. But then let's have that evil stuff as well. Okay. Yeah. But a lot of it is just that me and John just have all these influences, but we decided to kind of almost throw the rules out the window early on, despite what we began as. It's like, it's probably going to not appeal to the elitist black metal people, but it can, you can call it extreme, and someone will say no, it isn't. Or so it's like, it depends on your own perspective. I think that's the thing. A lot of people are gonna interpret it in a different way. It's not like we're writing groundbreaking new genre defining stuff. It's what we like together, like all together. Sometimes it might be raw black metal inspired stuff, but then you can tell from the production it isn't going to be raw like Burzum or anything.
Yeah, you didn't record it in your garage or wood somewhere.
No, I didn't record it with Fisher Price mic or whatever. So
well, you're not true then, mate. You're not true.
So yeah, it was we just write what we like, really. And I think we kind of, like I say, we throw the rule book out a bit with the inspirations, and I think I think we'll keep doing that. The next album, I imagine we'll probably draw from some stuff that is definitely not allowed, but you might not notice it.
Do what you want. It's way more fun that way. And
Yeah,
there's absolutely
yeah.
nothing wrong with a little bit of genre indefinable. I'm always fascinated, when you see descriptions and it's about 10 genres smashed into one sentence because it's the only way you can describe it. It's a hell of a lot more interesting.
That is the tricky part, though, with the genre mashing, because I've read multiple reviews already, and it's interesting what people don't agree on across them all. It's like, oh yeah, I'm hearing this band. It's like, no, it's this band. It's like, oh, they sound like this band. It's like, well, I mean, never listened to that band, but okay as well. So yeah, it's interesting what people can't seem to agree on the genre either. I've seen them say, this isn't black metal, this isn't black and death metal, this is death and black metal. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh, that's exhausting.
Yeah. So I do struggle a little bit with when trying to give an abbreviation as to what we are. I mean, I think everyone's going to interpret it a little bit differently.
We'll just say you're metal. Keep it nice and simple as that. Can you head back to it?
Yeah, I usually say like extreme heavy metal or blackened heavy metal, something it's heavy metal, but it's a little more than traditional.
We get it. Sticking with the album then. Sticking with the album, what were some of the more creative, challenging aspects overall that you can kind of point out and say, okay, yeah, that was a particular thing that tested me?
Oh, creative challenge.
I mean, if you don't have any, that's fantastic.
The only thing that really comes to mind, I don't know whether I would call it so much a challenge. Oh, I mean, it is a challenge. Okay, so we had one song left to write, and it was during full lockdown. So that was like, that track was Into the Abyss Once More, which is the track 6. And yeah, that was like completely done remotely. That was, sending stuff across, and even I think that one ended up sounding like the most pissed off one. It's like, and I suppose even with the title, it did kind of feel like we were in some kind of abyss at the time, because it was like just all in our all in our spaces, like we are now, I suppose, but like permanently. And it was frustrating that we so we ended up writing that song remotely, the lyrics, the vocals and stuff. ended up being quite grotesque and evil and dark, and it was like, yeah, there was some little sickness in the sound of it too. And in fact, when we actually came out of the lockdown and we recorded it for the album, the John's vocals at the time weren't quite there, because not because it was still learning, it was because he'd had so much time off, like, and at the same time he was working a night job in like one of them warehouses. There's a lot of shouting at people, and he was wearing his voice out. There was a point where we ended up recording some of the songs a few times till it warmed back up again. But there was one bit, I think it was the very end of the song, the very last part, we actually kept one of the worst takes in, because it just sounded like the struggle sounded like better for some reason. It was just that kind of, it was just not quite there. There's a little more of a grotesqueness to it, and because we did redo it, and then it's like I preferred the sick one for that one. It's like,
Give it that little extra edge.
Yeah, it was just like that was the struggle. It's like just a little bit of a struggle. I don't think it sticks out massively compared to the rest, but it was just we could tell at the time of recording it. It's like there's a little bit of horrible going on in that, and it works for that bit, but not a lot of the rest. It was so yeah, that's probably been the most creative, challenging song actually. That and Damnation's Black Winds, just because it was so much going on. That was that one had I think we actually paused that for a while and then came back to it, because it was one of those where we're not quite, I think it was the vocals more than anything. We got the music down, I think, and then the vocals we were like struggling for. I think that was probably the second last song we wrote, and it was like we need to stop going on about fire, and we've done that in enough songs. It was like fire. It's like we're running out. We know we want to say it again, but we've already kind of exhausted some of these themes a bit. So we ended up just putting. I don't know why. It's just one of those where you couldn't write. We were writing it, but it was just like, feel like we need to revisit this later when we've got some other stuff done. So we did that, and it came out really good in the end. So we're glad we did that.
With that in mind, because of course the album, it's a tight 7 tracks long, but with detailed, elaborate stuff that pushes the genre limitations of black and death metal impressively. Yeah. Did a lot then end up on the cutting room floor, so to speak?
Funnily enough, we've got entire songs that we've just ditched.
Put to the side.
Well, maybe we'll rewrite them. They just aren't up to. I think this is again part of the finding our way part of it, because yeah, we had a few songs we're like, yeah, definitely going to have those in it. Since the very beginning, we always said the album will start with All Hope and Fire and end with Pathways. This is like before we'd even played our first gig. We knew we were going to do those. Those were going to be the first and last songs.
I love it.
I know this is like 10 years of knowing that was going to be the first and last song on the album. We just had that in our mind. Yeah, so exhausting thinking about that. Blimey, has it really been that long?
Yeah.
Yeah, so got on my train of thought now.
That's all right, no worries. We were just talking about basically the stuff that got pushed to the side that wasn't up to scratch.
Oh yeah, that was it. Yeah, we were writing songs along the way, and we were like getting down to them. We were playing them. We never played them live or anything. We just played them like as at practice, and we were like, yeah, these are pretty good. But then it's like, it's just missing something. They sound kind of ordinary. There were some good riffs in it, so we might dig them back out again. They are fun to listen to after a while, and you're like, I mean, that was good, but yeah, it needs something. So yeah, it is surprising how many songs we've ended up either putting to the side or been like, we're going to do that idea again later.
That's resulted in, as I said, tight 7 tracks that are the best they could possibly be.
Yeah, we didn't really want to have more than was necessary. I think we could have gone like 8, 9, 10, but maybe those tracks would have been not up to par. They might have felt like filler, and we didn't. Yeah, we felt if we can't get them to the level we like them, then we shouldn't really put them on. So we didn't. And that's long enough these days, isn't it? It's still like 43 minutes.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not like we're talking about you knocking out 3.5 minute tracks here. You know, it's we've got a bit more going on.
Yeah, that's the other thing. We seem to always fall in that 5 to 6 minute. It's not like we intend to. It's just by the time we've got to it, the song has said its piece. It's like, oh, we're there again. 6 minutes. Oh, of course. Apart from like Pathways, which was like 8 minutes, but that's got that long outro on it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely could have filled it, but we didn't want to fill it really.
It's perfect. It is as lengthwise, track-wise, and so on. Positive parts then, when you kind of reflect on the entire, again, creative process, what are some of the positive parts and areas that you remember as really enjoying?
Parts. Most positive. Again, it's usually the feeling when you've got to the end of a song and you've written it for the first time, and then you play back the demo, and you're like, "That's it." Yeah, it's like that's the one. When you get excited by your own song, which is only really a thing at the beginning, because when you get to the point of you've heard the demo a million times, you've recorded it a million times, you've heard it, all the different mixes and the mastering, and every time you like editing a video, it's there in the video, or you played it a million times, you do get to the point where like, I'm kind of getting sick of it now. I hope this start going. I really hope this is good, because I know everyone
You
else.
lose sight, right? You lose like sight. It starts to become like you can't focus anymore.
Yeah, when you end up getting sick of your own stuff after a while. It's exciting at the beginning, and you're like, you got to try and remember that's how other people were here at the first time. You're going to forget this in like when you finish. Well, especially when some of the songs you've been playing like live for like 10 years, you're like, ugh, I'm so bored of this song now. But but there were points where I'd take a break from it. I took a massive break from listening to it because we had the time to take a break from it. And then I came back to it again, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, it's still good. It's still good. It's just I just needed a break. But
It
the most
is.
satisfying part is definitely the first time you finish the song and you hear it back and you go, yeah, I'm digging that. And then playing it live as well, getting it down in practice as well is. I mean, it always changes from a little bit in the live process. Stuff with the drums, maybe stuff with how things come in. But yeah, obviously, yeah, that's what I would say is first time you hear it all back is probably the most consistent positive point. But there are obviously little mini victories along the way, like getting that song we took a pause on and coming back to it and thinking this is going to be one of the ones we may end up struggling with, and we actually finally get there, and it's like, yeah, I love it now. And it's funny because that ended up being one of my favorite. That Damnation's Black Wind's probably ended up being one of my favorite songs on the album anyway.
How that turns out.
Yeah, it was like, this is a nightmare. It's one of those development hell songs, but it actually came out positive. So that was another creative highlight.
Right now, there is so much to be positive about Master's Call. Of course, I've heard the album. It is a fantastic release, and I can't wait for everybody to hear it, because this signifies the rebirth, if you want to use such a term as that, of Master's Call. You're here, you're secure, you're moving forward, and that is a really important aspect too. So I guess I have to ask you, really, is what comes next, do you think? Obviously, you've got the album release show. That's going to be killer, hopefully. What can you tell me about the future?
So we have a European tour coming up in February. We are going to be supporting Power from Hell, from Brazil. And yeah, in fact, some dates are probably going up anytime now, actually. um,
I'll hold this bit until it's definitely. I'll hold this video until this interview until I definitely know it's out. Then.
Yeah, yeah. They actually sent me. Actually, had the flyer sent today. And they were like, "This is going up tonight." I'm like, good, good, good. So yeah, that we're looking forward to that. That'll be our first like actual tour as well, rather than so far it's just been the odd single gigs. So it's good to be doing it and in Europe as well. That we are definitely looking forward to. There's a few other gigs as well. We've got in December, we've got Brighton at Winter Assault, and got one in Banbury. I think that's a couple of weeks later in December. Yeah. Now beyond that, obviously we would like to be able to get the next album out in less than 10 years, if possible.
Ideally, yes.
Ideally, yes. We have we have been writing when we can, when we're fitting some time in. So yeah, we've had, going back to what I was saying earlier, we've had some riffs come in from newer band members, and it fits with our mantra. So it's like, well, we make it fit with our mantra because their influence is one of them. Is it, here's a riff, and we're like, okay, I know what to do with that kind of thing. So yeah, hopefully we will release stuff more frequently than 10 years. Hopefully a lot more frequently. That's definitely going to be the plan, I think. And now we've got things in place, like we have Fireflash Records backing us up. I mean, that's a pretty major milestone in itself. That's definitely a foundation.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, it's looking positive. It's looking more positive now, I would say.
The future is looking bright. You got these things in place: the gigs, the tour, you're writing. I mean, what more can we ask? And it just means things are very, very exciting right now. But let's just remind people: A Journey for the Damned, as at the time of recording, Friday the 24th of November via Fireflash Records. Get this, stream it, buy it, whatever you need to do, but give this the time and energy it deserves. Before you go, Dave, there's just a couple more minutes in either of your time, but it's different. It's still an interview. This is Ozzy Osbourne, and in his head are randomized questions of anything and everything, chosen by me, written by me, but also featuring a ton of submissions from other bands, other band members around the world. I'm going to pull a couple out at random, if you don't mind. Chucking me some answers.
All right.
All right, here we go. We're off. Oh, goodness. Right. So you have a submission one. This is from Lee Martin, the vocalist and guitarist of the band Blue Stragglers. If you could take an elixir that allowed you to live forever, would you?
It would give me a lot more time, that's for sure. that I'm struggling with at the moment. That would actually be very beneficial for this band, because we might be able to get several albums out then.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have, for the sake of the band, I might have to take the elixir. If I wasn't in a band, I probably wouldn't. So,
I love it. All right, 85. What is your worst habit? What do you think your worst habit is?
My worst habit. Probably stroking my beard. I don't know.
I love it. I do that way too much as well. Yep, no, there it is.
Yeah, it's getting all shredded at the bottom now, but yeah.
All right, next one. 45. What is the most decadent thing you've ever eaten?
Most decadent thing I've ever eaten. It's probably something my brother cooked because he's pretty decadent. I wouldn't know what it was called though, so because I'm scum like that. It probably involved something very rich. I don't know. I need to ask him what I eat some of the time. He'd probably say it's some fancy thing, and I'm like, I didn't understand that, but
He's
it'll
a
be something
full-on
my brother
cook.
cooks. He's very much he's a very good host when we visit him. So
I love it. I love it. All right, 16. If you could go back in time and give your teenage self one piece of advice, what would it be?
ooh, start writing the album now.
Oh, fantastic. All right, one more. What is your go-to pizza order? What's on your pizza?
Discs of meat on top of cheese. It's all the disc. It's all the pepperoni and the sausage and chorizo. It's yeah, as much as
Full
that
on
as
meat feast.
full on meat feast. Yeah.
There it is. Again, a journey for the damned that Friday, 24th of November via Fireflash Records. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to do this, particularly when you have been so busy and got so much going on. I really do appreciate it.
No worries.
Thank you very much for watching. If you'd like to see more content like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It is gratefully appreciated. You can find us over at gbhbl.com, our full website where reviews, news and so much more goes up daily. We're also on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, at GBHBL. Just search for GBHBL and you will find us out there. We also have merchandise on sale. You can access the shop via the website.